So welcome back class. We have talked about use cases which were helping us in modeling the requirements of a system in simple textual format. In that we have seen there are actors and the tasks which are carried out by those actors. Now we are going to move further. We are going to understand situations where a text-based model, which is very simple as use case, may not impart information in a clear and concise manner about the software which we are trying to build. So what we should do? In such cases, we can choose to use a broad array of UML graphical models. So the first one in the series is activity diagram. So as the name says activity, it is going to depict the information about the interaction scenarios in specific system. It supplements the use case by providing a graphical representation and it creates flow of interaction. So a UML activity diagram represents the actions and decisions that occur as some function is performed. To tell you in simple words, you all have drawn flowcharts during your school days as well as before you create a C program. So the actual way of working is you have to first list out what the system is supposed to do and then you are representing it graphically. So it was like writing an algorithm and representing that algorithm in flowchart. It is here the case that it represents the workflow between various system activities. Flowchart had limited notations, though activities diagram is full of many notations to cover large variety of systems. So we are going to understand it this way. We use activity diagrams to visually model the dynamic behavior of a given part of our system to be built. Now let me give you a very simple example. My client has told me the requirement of keeping the system secure. So for that we are going to provide login functionality to the application. Now when we were talking about use cases, we had the actor as say end user and the use case was to log in into the system, or if we go into detail we would say enter username, enter password and click on the login button. But now in this case we were not depicting how at runtime it will behave. So with the help of activity diagram, what we can represent, we can show that if the password entered is incorrect, what will happen? If password entered 3 times incorrect, what will happen? So this kind of dynamic behavior it is possible to represent with the help of activity diagrams. So before we start with it, we will first learn the notations which are present in the activity diagram. For flowchart we had initial state, final state and a state or activity box and decision box. These were the simple notations available in flowchart. Now we are going to extend them further. So here also we have got activity. So it is used to represent set of actions, and also we can represent actions or tasks which come under these activities. Then we have got control flow and object flow. So control flow is the arrowed line which is used to show the sequence of execution, and object flow is used to show the flow of an object from one activity to another activity or action. Already we have seen this initial node and final node, that we are aware of it. And now there is this different thing which is object node. It represents an object that is connected to a set of object flow. So there is a rectangle and I have to name the object node in it. Then we have got decision node. So decision node helps me to work with the options where I have to specify conditions. So when we have two paths to follow, decision node is going to help me. Now once the decision has been taken, there has to have some common way with which both the options are going to meet. So for that we have got this merge node, it is represented like this. Then we have this fork node and join node. Now what it does is it splits the behavior into a set of parallel or concurrent flows of activities or action, as you can see. So there are two tasks which is the system is expected to perform parallelly, and to join them we have got this join node. Then the last option is this swim lane partition. Right now what you have to just remember is there are these two partitions, only you remember that, and we will come back to it again, swim lanes and partitions. Now we'll move back, and now we are going to see how to draw an activity diagram. So the first thing is we have to understand thoroughly what the system is all about. Without that it won't be possible for me to prepare the activity diagram. So I have to explore all of its actions. Then we have to know the elements, entities that are going to be used inside the diagram. We have to analyze all the activities which we have found out. You know, when I say login into the system, seems a very simple activity, but in that I have got many tasks, such as first of all I have to sign up, then I have to fill the information which is expected from me, then my account is created, then with those login credentials I will be able to log in. So there also I have to enter username, password, or email ID and password, or phone number and password. So this is how I am analyzing the ways of working. Then we are going to explore activities to find various constraints that are applied to activities. So the constraint for example would be the password should have minimum length of 8 characters. So you know, we have to find it. If at all the user is entering a very strong password, though it is of length 6, then we are not going to allow it. So for that we need to know how it is expected to work. Then we are going to identify activities, conditions and associations among them. So this is how we have to draw activity diagrams. You know, we have learned the notations, we have understood what we need to do. Now we will see the example of activity diagram, and before that there are some set of rules which we must see. We have already seen some of them. So all activities in the system should be named. So we cannot keep the activity rectangle blank, you know. Activity name should be meaningful. So after requirement modeling, there are people who are going to prepare the design document. If you remember the models which we have studied, so you know, so if requirements are not stated clearly, how the design team is going to work on that? So you know, it should be named meaningfully, constraints must be identified, and activity associations must be known to us. So now we are going to see a very simple example of activity diagram. You know, the task is to access the email. So what I have to do is open mail. Then there are two ways here now, if it is important and if it is junk. So that is why a decision node is used. So if it is important, the user is supposed to read it and come to the merge node, and if it is junk, then it is to be deleted and the user is coming to the merge node, and then we are going to come towards the end activity, end state. Okay, so this is how very simple flowchart kind of diagram I have shown to you. Now we will move further and we will understand one more set of diagrams which are actually supplementing, or you can say are considered as variation of activity diagram. They are called as swim lane diagram. So a swim lane diagram is useful variation of the activity diagram, and it allows representation of flow of activities described by use case at the same time to indicate which actor has responsibility of the action. It is used in process flow diagrams, flow charts, where visually we can distinguish job sharing and responsibilities for sub-processes of a business process. You know, when I say I am opening an email, it is not just me who is involved in it. Okay, so we had described the simple flow of how I will open my email, but at the bank end there has to be someone who is managing it. So this kind of roles we have to consider when we are trying to develop a system. So a swim lane diagram is type of flow chart that delineates who does what in a process. So why the name is given swim lane? It is very interesting because here it is considered that it is like we are partitioning the system into swim lanes which are very similar to the lanes in swimming pool. That is why the name is swim lane. And as you can see over here, it is arranged horizontally. So there is one part, another part, and third part. So it is either arranged horizontally or vertically. We are going to see the example of it now. Okay, now to understand what is the need of swim lane diagram, we will first see the activity diagram which is without swim lane. So the task here is there is a business process for meeting a new client. So how it works is, so we will start with start state, then call client and set up the appointment. That has to be done. Now there are two ways again. So if appointment is on site, we have to prepare a conference room, and if it is off site, then we have to prepare a laptop. On site here is at the location where both the parties are meeting, either at client side or at developer side. Okay, and off site is we are wherever we are, and we are going to meet the way we are meeting right now. So we are preparing a laptop, and then we are having a meet with the client. Then a follow-up letter is also shown. Then now if it is decided that statement of problem has to be fixed, then how we are going to work is we have to create a proposal for that and send proposal to that client. And the other flow is, if no statement of problem is there, directly we are coming to the end state. So this is the note which is added to the diagram. Now you see the flow of what kinds of tasks which we have to perform is listed down, and it is represented graphically. So this is the activity diagram, and now we are going to see the swim lane diagram. If you see the swim lane diagram for the same task, you will observe that three kinds of roles are there: salesperson, consultant, and corporate technician. Now this roles you must have identified when you were drawing use case diagram. So actors you can take help of now. So it is the responsibility of salesperson to call and set up the meeting with the client, and consultant is responsible for actual conduction of meeting. Then salesperson will send the follow-up letter. Now corporate technician is just there to set up the conference room. So you understood all the tasks which we have seen in activity diagram. Now we are better understanding who is doing what. So accordingly, now this is real world scenario of how the things work. Okay, but whenever we will draw the activity diagram or swim lane diagram, it will be for the software system which we are trying to build. So when I say I want to access the email, in that case who will be the user roles? Can you think of it? Okay, you think of it and you let me know. Okay, then we will draw the activity and swim lane diagram for that process flow. So to summarize, I would say activity diagram is also called as object oriented flow charts. Activity is a behavior that is divided into one or more actions. An activity partition or a swim lane is a high level grouping of a set of related actions. So I hope you remember we had seen a notation when we were talking about activity diagram notation. So in that we had seen one notation as swim lane or partition. So that is what we have seen in swim lane diagram. The next is fork and join nodes are used to generate concurrent flows within an activity. And I would say activity diagram is used to model business processes and workflows. So how the system would appear to its end user from that point of view. We are thinking it. and this is how we are drawing the activity diagrams and swim lane diagrams to better represent the requirements which we have collected from the end user or client. So these are the references. You remember, requirement modeling is the chapter from Pressman's book. Okay, so see you in the next class. Thank you.